Today I'm talking with Sarah Adams, known online as Mom Uncharted. Sarah started her work in 2021 as a mom who noticed something uncomfortable: the amount of personal information that parents were sharing about their children online. She saw a problem and decided to do something about it. And since then, she's built a massive following focused on sharenting, child privacy, and informed consent. In this conversation, we discuss the actual problems with sharing kids online. Not hypothetical stuff, but real harms. We talk about privacy, consent, digital safety, and how AI is changing the game in ways that should concern every parent. We also explore something crucial: how parents themselves can be a source of digital risk for their kids, not just strangers. And this isn't just about what not to do. Sarah shares practical boundaries that she's created in her own life, how to think about screen time quality versus quantity, and that the most important thing we can do is model the behavior that we want to see in our kids. So if you've ever wondered whether that photo you're about to post is okay, or if you're starting to realize that the risks of sharing your kids online might be bigger than you thought, this conversation is for you. Sarah, welcome to the Family IT Guy podcast.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Ben. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Tell us about Mom Uncharted and tell us about sort of why you do what you do and how you got into this.
Yeah. So, I became a mom and I was on social media. I became a mom in 2017. That's kind of when my journey started, because I started following a bunch of momfluencers, or I had been following a bunch of influencers who were turning into moms around the same time I was. And I didn't think anything of it, to be honest. I thought it was pretty normal to follow these people and to post images of kids and to share information. I thought I'd find community, some tips, some tricks, some things to buy. And life moved on. I personally was never putting myself out there or my children. I was kind of a ghost follower, but I liked feeling a part of something, that we were in this together, right? And other mothers were kind of feeling what I was feeling. And it wasn't until I had my second child, first week of the pandemic lockdown, March 2020.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. And
Wow.
then I'm sitting at home with a newborn. We're all online more. Friends are sharing more, family, influencers. And as the months progressed, it just started to feel more uncomfortable. I just started to feel that people were sharing, like, from the minute their kids woke up, their entire day, very personal information, very personal images. And then one influencer who I had followed for a long time shared a medical diagnosis of her son and hospitals and doctors and appointments. And I just had this light bulb moment that was, I shouldn't know this. I shouldn't, as a stranger, have access to this child's private medical information. This is too far. This is strange and uncomfortable. And from that moment, I just started really dissecting what I was consuming online, talking to friends, saying, isn't this weird? Like, has this gone too far? Are we doing too much? And when they were all tired of listening to me, they said, why don't you go online? Just share your opinion and see what happens. And I started sharing my opinion, and I niched myself into Mom Uncharted. That's how it
niched yourself. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's the best efforts are driven by sort of solving your own problems, and you found your way into noticing this problem, and then decided to have a crack at helping other folks become aware as well.
I wasn't sharing my child. Granted, when they first arrived, I did a little announcement with their hands and their name and stuff like that. And then I did at the time feel compelled to share a few images, because it felt like that's what we do. That's normal. That's what we're supposed to do. Are you not proud of your child? Do you not think they're cute? You should put them online. And I remember with my first in 2017, putting maybe 3 or 4 photos on a private Instagram. And then just a month or so later being no, this isn't for me. Something doesn't feel right here. And then the more I dove into learning about things, I was like, oh, yeah, you definitely shouldn't be sharing your child's full name and date of birth on the internet. No, let's not do that. So I felt compelled to, as I learned things, share with others. And I think I've changed a lot of people's perspective on the way we share our kids online.
I mean, you clearly have had quite an impact. The number of people that have seen your stuff and the number of people that follow your stuff is huge. It's amazing. So you've struck a chord.
Yeah, I definitely struck a chord. I grew pretty fast, especially on TikTok. Like within 6 months, I had gone from 0 to 150,000 followers. And then I was picked up in a CNN article where they referred to myself and some other individuals as the watchdog moms of TikTok. And after that, the growth slowed. And it was very apparent. And since then, it's taken me about 3.5 years to gain another 150,000 followers.
That's very interesting, because you'd almost expect
the opposite.
All else being equal, that it would be the opposite.
Yeah.
You would explode after that.
Yep. So I do feel that there is some suppression, some shadow banning. I hear that from my audience a lot, that, they were automatically unfollowed. They never see me on their FYP. They forgot about me. They had to come and check me out. And it's fairly apparent at this point, but that doesn't stop me. I'm still out there sharing my opinion, and occasionally a video will go viral, or, a news outlet will pick up something and I can gain traction elsewhere.
Yeah. And as unfortunate as that is, and as real as that is, it also tells me that you're doing something right.
Yeah.
You're hitting these guys where it hurts, which is because if you're saying, hey, folks, contribute less, right? Yeah. Put less on, feed the machine less. The machine is like, no. We want the opposite. We want more. We don't want less.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I'm basically, not only am I aligned with you in regard to like keeping kids safe online and talking about like kids and teenagers and stuff like that, I'm starting at a very early age. I'm telling these parents don't at all. And you're doing the same. But like, a lot of my platform is more based on parents, new parents, soon to be parents, how they share, having them learn early on to not share this information. So what I'm essentially doing is telling people to not give these platforms the products, because they look at our children as products, and their data to these big tech companies, right? So I'm essentially telling them to parents to not provide the information that these big tech companies are so desperate for. And they don't want that. They want those babies. They want those toddlers. They want to build those profiles. They want that data. I think that's one of the reasons why maybe I don't trend as much.
One of the things that's just so perhaps obviously troublesome to me is that I have a hard time finding empathy and giving benefit of the doubt in these situations to the people that build the system to behave this way, right? Because the system doesn't do this on accident. Mm-hmm. The system is designed by engineers. It's designed by psychologists to maximize engagement, seemingly at any cost. Mm-hmm. But I also wonder, what percentage of the employees at TikTok, Meta, which would include like Instagram and Facebook and all their different divisions, how many of them have kids? And like, why the CEO of Meta has kids? Yeah. Right. I would imagine, I don't know about the CEO of TikTok. Maybe they have kids too.
I think he does have kids. I think he does have kids. It's Snapchat, Evan, he has kids. I think the majority of them do have kids, and we do hear them say regularly that their kids aren't on the platform, that they're not sharing their kids on the platform. And I've read articles about how they, put their kids in really low-tech schools, right?
Ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, ironic. And then, to the employees, like some of them definitely have kids, and I would say the probability of them not sharing their children on these platforms is high.
Yeah.
Because
I think that's a fair assumption.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it speaks to how important it is to not take anything for granted.
Yeah.
Because when I think about these things occurring, I firstly, to be clear, I think that like, I don't easily, for example, like blame parents for doing this stuff because we've all been conditioned to take it for granted.
Yes.
Right. Like we all do it ourselves. We share ourselves and we can't tangibly grasp the potential problems on our own. Right. Because if you're not informed and you're not aware of the way the machine works and what it's trying to get from you, of what are the trades, right? If you're not trading money,
yeah.
So you're trading attention, you're trading your time.
Yeah.
Do you personally value that? Are you specifically aware of the value exchange? Because I would say most may not be.
I would agree with that.
And then so we fall into this place where it gets effectively taken for granted.
Yeah.
And then you come along and you help people not take it for granted, which is the most spectacular part.
Yeah. And I think we've also, as society, just normalized oversharing, normalized the lack of privacy in our own lives and by extension, our families' lives. And when Instagram, started in 2010-ish and then really blew up around 2015, not a lot of people were questioning it, right? Not a lot of people were questioning putting their kids on there. And because that's what we had been doing with Facebook, right? Facebook was like a really like peer-to-peer, friend to family member exchange at the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
And so slowly these new parents in 2015 and so were just bringing these children into a world where it was normal and almost expected that you would be sharing photos, videos, and information publicly online. There weren't a lot of people questioning it prior to, 2018, 2020. Like there was a few, sharenting was a thing, but it wasn't as mainstream as it is now.
Yeah. Now, just to clarify for the audience, how do you frame the problem? What is the problem with sharenting? What problems does that present?
I think there's a variety of problems and it runs the spectrum because there's the simple sharenting of us, quote unquote, regular folk. And then there is the large scale sharenting of individuals who turn their children into content, right? Those who are treating their human existence like a reality show to be consumed online. So if we're just and the problems affect both categories. I am really worried about a child's right to privacy, their ability to be able to come online later in life and share what they would like with the world versus having to find out all the things their parents shared with the world, whether that is embarrassing images and videos, whether that is private medical information. The things I have seen parents share online are wild, right? So I would say number one, privacy. Number two, informed consent. We as adults know the risks we are taking when we go online, when we sign these terms and conditions, if we read them, on these platforms and things like that. We are educated and I know that my videos can be picked up and go anywhere. Somebody can scrape them and, have AI selling a Korean skincare product with my face and things like this. I know all the different risks that I'm taking because I'm adult, but kids can't consent to that. Kids can't consent to their life being viewed by billions of people or being turned into a meme or having a viral video and things like this. And then the next one would be digital safety. It's a scary world. And it has become a lot scary over the last 5 years with the advancements in AI and the stories I have heard in regard to what can happen with images and videos, as well as like identity theft and fraud. Yeah. I don't think a lot of parents are thinking about that when they're giving these platforms a lot of their children's personal identifiable information. So those would be like the three main concerns that run the gamut between like low sharing and extreme child exploitation sharing online.
Makes a lot of sense, and I heard a statistic just yesterday from a detective that worked with the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force in Kentucky. He worked with them for 20 years, Detective Mike Lemon. And he shared something with me that I had not heard, which is in 2024, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children got 550,000 reports of sextortion, and 100,000 of them were AI generated. And in 2025, we're on track to do 1 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think like when you talk about sharing pictures innocently and putting out stuff that doesn't seem problematic by itself, the potential for misuse is severe.
100%. And it makes me think about, like the large influencer families and the large family vlogging families, and like, have they been, blackmailed in this capacity behind the scenes and, sextorted in regard to AI images of their children and things like that? Because none of them are going to tell you the horror stories because they want to present this amazing family vlogging life and things like that. But it's scary to think what happens behind the scenes, and also what some children will find later in life on the web of themselves, right? That is something that parents will have to reconcile because it's already happening. But imagine being a 16-year-old who goes online and potentially finds images or videos that have been altered of you on like a Discord thread or something like that. That is a very real probability for a lot of children out there.
Yeah, the digital breadcrumb thing is so magnified with every day that goes on as technology gets more and more powerful to analyze existing content and produce new content with no participation from the person that might be the subject.
Yeah. And I think, I just think it's more serious now than ever, right? Like in regard to sharing our children. And I think that is something that the both of us can agree on and continue to preach, that like, if you haven't been paying attention yet, you need to pay attention now.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And I'll tell you what, I can relate to taking this stuff for granted. Yeah. So, my background is like I've been in the tech world for 30 years. I know most of, if not all of the different sides of tech, right? Because you have the business side, you have the people side, you have the technology side. Why are they the way they are? With all that knowledge, prior to digging into this specifically and doing the family IT guy thing specifically, I was very naive. I didn't realize the scale and the scope of the problem.
Oh,
so it's hard to grasp.
Oh, I can completely relate to that. When I started this, I was mainly my main things were privacy and informed consent. Like, yes, I knew there were bad people online, but like that was almost like an aside to my issues as a parent in regard to what many are doing, invading their children's right to privacy and informed consent. Those were like my top tier thing. And as I got into it, I realized so much of the darkness as well. And that has been very eye-opening. That's led to some really like just hard, like mental health moments to think of what kids are dealing with and what parents are doing to their kids. But I continue to talk because I think it's important. And I think the element that I have that Mom Uncharted can do is the relatability in the sense of like, also like, I didn't know, I don't fault you for not knowing. Now, granted, in 2025, there are some things that are just basic knowledge. Naked, semi-naked kids on the internet, just that at this point, that's just a known. And if you're posting those types of images of your children, then you are willfully being ignorant, right? But in regard to a lot of the stuff, I get it. I understand how you might not know this. So I really try most of the time to inform in a relatable, non-judgmental way. You know, sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes I blow my top a little. I get a little heated.
It's hard not to.
I try not to. I try to be approachable, but I'm a work in progress.
Well, I mean, I tell you what, I mean, you demonstrate the characteristics of a strong mom, and a strong mom, if you mess with her kids, she's going to mess you up.
Yeah.
Like you can't poke the bear, right? That's
100%. And when it comes to it, despite being suppressed on the platform, despite having like blowback sometimes for the things I say, I want these kids, this generation, to know that somebody was fighting for their parents to recognize that they did deserve a right to privacy and informed consent. You know, when they grow up and see their digital footprint or the narrative the parent created for them and maybe are not happy with all that information and all those images being online, that there's someone online that they can turn to and be like, man, like at least that woman was trying. At least that mom was out there like trying for us, right? Like trying to make a difference.
Yeah. You're not trying to make friends. You're trying to help.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make friends, but I have made a lot of friends. I will say it's been a really nice journey, and I've made some great online friends. And I think some people would be really surprised at the individuals who have reached out to me privately and said, "Hey, like you really impacted the way I share," or the fact that I removed my child or won't be showing them. Those comments are pretty cool.
That's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got my vote. Don't go soft. Go hard. Like
Go hard.
This is not a time to mess around.
I know.
Like this, our society is so keen on, we're not supposed to disagree. And if we disagree, we got to hate each other.
Yeah.
Well, I think disagreement is wonderful. That's how you learn. That's how you grow.
Yeah.
And we don't need to coddle this stuff. This is a big problem. Mm-hmm. And so, be angry, be passionate, tell people the truth, whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
So I back it. I'm on, I'm on Team Sarah on that one.
I appreciate the advice. And sometimes with certain things, I'm pretty like hard and aggressive. And then there's another element that I do cover when I cover these family vloggers and these momfluencers and things like that. And that, if you've seen, I try not to like name names. I try not to like tag people in my comment section and things like that. Granted, those videos would trend. They would go viral. There would be a lot of engagement. But I also, as a mom and a woman online, don't want to add to the bullying or harassment of another mother and woman online. So there are certain topics that, as much as I would like to go hard, I have to be mindful of, even though I disagree with this person, even though I think maybe what they're doing is wrong, often disgusting, I run the risk of being an individual who could come across as bullying another woman online and potentially further exploiting the children, right? So there's certain things that I try to be a little more mindful with, because there's more of a domino effect to it, if you get that.
Yeah. Oh, it's certainly a careful balance. And I think it's, I think that's great. I think it's like, hey, we're not here to target an individual. We're here to target a principle. We're here to target a problem. We're here to facilitate growth and awareness for others at scale. And we can do that without saying like, hey, let's bully this individual. Rather, let's learn from them.
Whoever, right?
Yeah. Poor Liz.
Yeah, I know. Poor Liz. And don't get me wrong. Like a lot of these family vloggers that I disagree with, and a lot of these momfluencers, like they get it online. I don't know if you've ever seen a Reddit snark thread, but it is.
No, I haven't.
It is shocking. There are communities on the internet with sometimes hundreds of thousands of individuals who are talking very negatively and very poorly about one family or like one individual, right? And that's
just not. Yeah.
I didn't know existed before I became Mom Uncharted. I didn't know that these areas of the internet where strangers hate on other strangers existed.
I get that vibe. I think it seems to be like a path of least resistance for us as humans of being able to be drawn into like, oh, that's stoked something in me, so now I want to target it at this individual,
Yeah.
And I think it's cool to show people that like that's not necessarily the most constructive path. Like if we're actually trying to help, then
Yes.
we need to actually do so in a way that we would do if the person was sitting right in front of us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What would we say, kind of thing?
I say regularly that nobody will listen if they feel attacked. If I come in too hard against the mommy vlogger or whatnot, they're not going to listen to my what I believe is like a legitimate concern and trying to inform them in an educational way. If they immediately feel attacked, they're going to get their back up. They're going to get defensive. Their stands and their fans are going to come in and attack me, and it's going to be a whole thing. So it's better to just broach the subject in a very like mindful, informative, educational way in hopes that maybe my video passes their feed and they actually listen and think about it.
And you can be a positive example for kids, which is really the ultimate deal, right? Is like if kids can see adults that are approaching problems constructively, then they can learn from that and take that example, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's a great point. Great point, Ben.
And so do you see any nuance or any upside in the sharenting and the sharing, family and kid stuff online? Is it a black and white scenario? Where do you fall on that?
So I've always said there's like a gray area. There's like a little nuance. My goal has never been to like rid kids of the internet. I don't think that is a doable or approachable goal in, the 2020s. But for parents to be more mindful about what they post and the images they post. For example, like if there is an influencer with millions of followers who is a mom who occasionally shares a photo of her child or a video of them at Disney or something, like I don't have a massive issue with that, as long as they are aware of the risks they are taking, because those still apply. That to me is like, okay, because like it's not a parent who is turning a child into their income, into a cash cow, into an income generating machine, because it's not all their content. You've seen that child once in like 4 months, right? So I think I do think there's some gray and some nuance to be mindful of.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. I mean, I tend to be, I have to check myself sometimes. I tend to default to like a black and white thing. And as I've gotten older and more experienced in life, I've gotten a little bit better maybe at checking myself on, okay, maybe there is gray area here. Like what is realistic? What is actually, what expectations are within the realms of reality? And so
now I will preface that this has been my my go-to for the past 4 years. But in regard to the past year and the rise in AI and some of the stories I've heard, I'm starting to lean more towards a black and white approach because of the freaky, weird, insane, scary stories I have heard.
Yeah.
And so right, like there is nuance, but in general, I would always say to not post your kid publicly online, not provide any personal identifiable information. And if you want to share with friends and family, text, email a photo, or use a photo sharing app that has a lot of protections in regard to like data and security and is an invite only.
Yeah, I like that. Right.
Yeah.
Then at least you're not feeding the machine. You can still share stuff with family and friends and do so in a way that is privacy respecting of the kids, so that when they turn 18, they turn 25, whatever, they don't look back thinking like, wow, why is all that stuff about me out there?
Well, the amount of teenagers or Gen Zs who have come into my comments and said, like, I can't imagine if my whole childhood was online. Like, I was embarrassed enough of the photo that was hanging in my grandparents' house. Can you imagine having that like photo go viral and turned into a meme and things like that? The things parents are sharing sometimes is absolutely unequivocally wrong. A child covered in their own feces there's no place for that online. And to think that parents are willingly sharing that of their own children because they think it's like funny or will go viral, like it's just not. You always have to be thinking about the future and the potential consequences for your child later in life when you share images like that.
And I say this with a little bit of sarcasm, but critical thinking is not for everybody.
Common sense ain't for everybody either, right? Like to me, to me, it feels like common sense. Like, would you want a picture of you covered in your own feces online, regardless of how old you are or anything? The answer is no. Would you as an adult feel good if your partner took a video of you during a heightened state of emotion and then uploaded that without your knowledge and consent online, and it was viewed by millions of people, some of which were saying really derogatory things about you? No, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
So why are we doing this to our children?
Yeah. I like that. Have you caught up with the recent, the new app, Sora, the new OpenAI app?
Okay, well, I haven't been on Sora. I am trying very hard to be mindful of the way I use AI and the amount I use AI. And from what I've seen, it is scary and very realistic. And I don't know like the terms and conditions associated with it, but it freaks me out, Ben. Freaks me out.
I think that's fair, and I think it should. It just to catch people up, because it's a brand new thing.
Yep.
It's an AI video generation app. When you open it, it looks exactly like TikTok. It has the same buttons, the same interface. It has a feed, and then people post their videos, in air quotes, their generated videos. And then the reason I bring it up is because in the context of sharenting, what they're trying to do is get you to create what they call a cameo. And a cameo is where you feed your likeness into the machine. So you feed your video of yourself so that it can capture you from multiple angles and understand the way you look, the way you move, and the way you sound. And I think that it's a horrific idea to expose anybody to that, especially kids, and to do so in an environment where it's algorithmic. It has direct messages. It's basically
I didn't know
best
it had
enabler.
That's interesting.
It does. And they're on by default, regardless of what age you put in.
So it's not, there's no age restriction on this. Like, it's not asking if you're 18 or anything at this point.
They have, so it's tied into your ChatGPT login. And when you sign up for ChatGPT, you put your age, but it doesn't get verified. You can put whatever age you want.
Yeah, of course.
And then if you attach, ChatGPT has these new parental controls they just announced. And if you attach your parent's account to your account as a kid, then it enables these parental controls. And one of the parental controls is to disable DMs.
Okay.
But that is off by default. And the kid can detach their account from their parent's account on their own. So it's a little wild. So just something to be aware of. Ironically, because this stuff isn't going away, I think that it's useful for parents to use the app a couple of times just to see, like, don't feed your likeness and stuff into it, but like kind of have a look and see what's going on there so that you know that this is every problem you could imagine in technology, all in one nice little package. It's an interesting time. That one. And of course it's free. And like you said earlier, if it's free, you're the product.
100%.
So, and in this case, not like a lot of the free platforms are expensive to operate. Right. So like Meta's infrastructure is enormously expensive. They've got a gigantic staff of expensive engineers and they give their stuff away for free. This product is one of the most expensive products that has ever been created to operate. And it's free.
And those are questions you parents and society needs to ask. Why? Why is this free?
What's the trade? What am I giving versus getting?
Yeah.
And like OpenAI, for example, is meant to lose tens of billions of dollars a year all the way through 2029. And so this is a very interesting.
What you're saying is what we have is more valuable to them, right?
Yes.
Like we're offering something that is more valuable, that they are willing to lose profits or like not even break even for years because we are their currency.
OpenAI is the most capitally intensive company to have ever existed by far. And their stuff is free. So a little red flag, just waving a little red flag
there's a lot red. There's a lot of red flags with AI. I've been keeping the Center for Humane Technology with Tristan Harris.
Yeah.
Have you been seeing him pop up? He's been doing the rounds on some of the late night shows. They have a podcast called, I think it's Your Undivided Attention. You might have to check that. And I've been pretty consumed with what he has to say about AI, and therefore I've been terrified.
Yeah. It's like we need to know, because like I say, it's not going away. Like we need to be aware and knowledgeable, but yet very, very, very careful. It's so slippery.
I also want to say in regard to like the Sora and the AI in regard to kids and what they're doing with the videos, is I have heard a lot of the term AI slop. And that is a lot of what kids are consuming and creating, is just AI short form brain rot slop. And we talk a lot about, screen time. We talk a lot about social media and keeping kids safe and their mental health and things like that. And one thing I think parents really need to pay attention to, and actually I think Jonathan Haidt said this on a podcast I was listening to the other day when he was talking about his book, The Anxious Generation, was when he went into it, he was really concerned about mental health, right? The teenagers' mental health. And he's like, but after the year has gone by and more talks, he's like, it's the attention. I'm really worried about children and their attention spans in regard to all of this technology, all of this access, AI slop, utilizing AI for their critical thinking in school, things like this. And I think that's a topic that I just want to put a pin in parents' brain to come back to or look into further.
I've listened to this guy, Dr. Daniel Amen. He's this very popular brain doctor guy. Very fascinating stuff that he's working on. And he was on a podcast with a guy the podcast is called Diary of a CEO. That's the name of the show. And then they did an episode on ChatGPT. And Dr. Amen basically said that the brain is like a muscle, and if you don't use it, it gets weaker. In other words, and if you outsource the processing to AI or to something else, then you are degrading your brain's capability.
Yeah.
And so this is like a very real, the slop thing is actually turning us into slop.
100%. And it's important for parents to remember that your child's brain is not fully developed until they are about 25. That's when the prefrontal cortex is like fully developed. So if they are consuming this digital slop in their strollers on their YouTube Kids and things like that at age 3 or 4, and I hate to say it, but go to the mall and look around these days.
Yeah.
The amount
it's
of
rough.
children who are in physical environments on tablets and phones. And don't get me wrong, I recognize that many children need these to function within society, but not all children, not all children. And therefore we know that some are using it as, a social pacifier. And therefore, we're also not teaching our kids how to act in public, how to interact with customer service, how to sit at a food court, how to be patient while mom looks for a new blouse. These are really important things that we can't give our kids tablets and screens for. Otherwise, it goes back to the attention, right? And what's going to happen to these kids' brains? It's very concerning.
Okay, so I like to think about this bigger picture of, and the reason I do this podcast is the theme for me is how do we set kids up for success?
Yep.
And so within the context of this conversation, so we've covered a lot about the risks and the problems and like sort of the things to be aware of. On the flip side of that, how do we set kids up for success in this world of where it's too easy to take things for granted, like privacy and like physical safety, and where it's so easy to use technology as a pacifier? What can we do to set them up for success and with or without tech? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
We all live really busy lives. We're exceptionally busy. People are working harder. It's a struggle out there right now, but I think one of the best things we can do as parents is also put down our phone and be with our kids, be present with our kids, whether that is going on walks with them, playing Legos with them. Oftentimes we say, no screens for you. And then we pick up our phones, right? Yeah. I think, and I get it. My work is my phone. Like I get it, but we as parents need to be mindful of what we are modeling also. And I think we need to be the biggest influence in our children's lives. And therefore, we also need to put down the phone and spend time with them, get to know them, find out what their interests are, ask them about their friends, ask them if they heard any bad words at school and want to talk about it, or if someone has been mean to them, right? Like, we want to keep them busy and interested and foster their creativity and their imagination. And we can't do that if we aren't making the time for them, because something else will take our place, right? So I just think one of the best things we can do is just ourselves try and be more mindful of being on our phones and being present with our children. And hey, I'm like everyone else. I struggle sometimes, but I have implemented some really great boundaries. And that's one thing. And also recognize that, like, I don't think you are, and I'm not anti-tech. We're not anti-all tech, right? I know what works for my child might not work for another person's child. And I'm not no screen time. I'm the quality of the screen time versus the quantity of the screen time. My children don't display good behaviors when they are on a tablet, when they have this thing that's right in front of their face. But they can, on the big TV, pull out a Nintendo Switch and play Animal Crossing really nicely together.
Yeah.
And they're sitting together and they're engaged and they're talking and they're moving. And so finding what also works for your family in regard to like screen and tech, right? We're not we're just mindfulness when it comes to it.
Yeah, well, that's well said. Do you mind sharing what kind of boundaries you've created for yourself and what's worked for you?
Yeah. So when I first started Mom Uncharted, one of the initial things I said was, even though it wasn't like a job for me, it's always been a passion project. I said, I'm not doing this on the weekends. I'm not opening social media on the weekends. I'm taking weekends off. So for the past 4 years, unless something like terrible has happened online and I need to go shut down a comment section, I don't check. I don't look at Instagram. I don't look at TikTok. I don't create content. I don't do any of that on weekends. Weekends are for my family. Weekends are for my children. And specifically, I don't open social media or my email until my children are at school. So I don't reach for my phone in the morning. I don't check while I'm making breakfast. I just wait until 9 o'clock and then I let my day begin. But those are some really great boundaries I've created for myself. And I don't have an affiliate with this company, but if you've heard of The Brick, I'm a big fan of
yeah.
I'm a big fan of The Brick, and a lot of people say, well, just have self-control. And for many years, I have had self-control on the weekend. But I think for people like us who are online and a comment, a video, things happen all the time, it can really be helpful to brick your phone and know that it's radio silent, it's not coming in, it's not going out, and you're completely like off the clock and you're not tempted. Because as addictive as it is for children, we're also all addicted. We're also all addicted. And we all have the habit of reaching for our phone in a moment of quiet or a moment of boredom. And knowing that like I can't get on social media leads me to like go clean a bathroom instead, or, catch up on some emails instead. So I think The Brick is really good for adults too, especially if you want more boundaries, but you're really struggling to create them and have self-discipline.
Yeah, you got to help yourself out, right? I mean, this stuff is designed to take advantage of our minds. And so sometimes you got to leverage tools.
100%. It's the attention economy, right? And it's not just the kids that are suffering.
I really appreciate the fact that your primary commentary there is like, it starts with us.
Yeah.
Like we have to demonstrate the behavior that we want to model and that they're going to look up to, whether we want them to or not. They're watching what we do. They're listening to what we say. Mm-hmm. They're noticing if the device is between us and them.
Yes.
Right. Like, so I think that's really beautiful. And it actually, I'm trying to get better at listening to my gut. And I notice that I physically feel, as we talked about the baby in the stroller, I feel that in my stomach in a bad way.
Yeah.
And when we talk about putting boundaries for ourselves and looking at ourselves, that makes my heart feel good.
Yeah.
Like that tells me that like there's something right there. Like that's the direction. So I really appreciate you saying that.
And that's the feeling that we're aiming for. And I think it's also important to note that like we're all in this together, right? We became parents in this tech world, and so much of our lives are now online. And like I get it, but also I think a lot of us feel like we do want to put down the phone. We do want less time on social media. Yeah. We do want to, like go outside and see the birds and the trees and stuff. And that's not just because I'm 40 and now I'm into birds, Ben. Okay.
Okay. Fair enough.
Right. But like, I think we also have to remember like the physical world out there. Right.
Absolutely. And practice boredom. It's important. I have this hypothesis in my mind that I feel, again, on the inside of my gut, that our minds need, our souls and our minds need stillness. When I think about information from the outside coming my way, I feel like it's a fast vibrating, it's up here.
Yep.
And I feel like when I sit outside by myself with no device, or I sit with my wife or my kid and humans and no, what's the right term? Like no stimulation, that the vibration lowers. Yep. And that the lower it gets, or at least this is the way I image it in my head, the lower it gets, the more connected I can become to like reality. And I think unless you intentionally practice that, which is weird to say because this is a new thing where we even have to like practice being in reality. Like,
Yeah.
what a bizarre concept, right? But nonetheless, here we are. And so now I feel, must be intentional about practicing that and being in boredom and being in stillness and allowing our mind and our soul to recharge.
Yeah.
If we're always up here at this high energy, like we don't get to recharge, we don't get to grow, we don't get to feel, we don't get to be in touch with ourselves. And so, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for really beautiful and positive change, and it's there for us to take.
Yes.
And we can.
Yep.
Nobody's stopping us. Now, people are trying. The technology is trying. No, come
trying.
back. Look at the screen, right? And so my last question for you is, if you could encourage parents that are just getting to become, they're saying, oh, wow, like I'm becoming aware of the fact that like, oh, this might be a problem. Maybe I need to dig in here. And they're starting to look at your stuff. And you could say, okay, if I can give you one piece of advice, if I can give you one thought, or if I could change one thing, what would that one thing be?
If we're talking specifically about sharenting and the way we share our children online, I would say number one, go private. You don't need a public account that has billions of people ability to access it at any moment. I would say curate your follower list. Our children are our most prized possessions, and I don't know how we got to the point where everyone can have access to their images and their cute videos and their information. That's crazy to me. So make sure that you know the individuals and you trust the individuals. And even if you are private and even if you have a curated list of friends and family, be mindful of what you share. There are some things that just don't need to be shared. They don't need to be shared on these platforms, because even though you're private, you're still on a platform, right? Other people publicly might not have access, but that platform does. And so be mindful of what you share. So those would be like the three immediate things that parents can and should do. We need to stop giving big tech so much of our children.
Love it. Thank you very much, Sarah. It's a very informative conversation. Thank you for doing what you do and working as hard as you do and putting all this energy into this. It's moving things in the right direction. And I wish you all the best of luck in your work.
Oh, thanks, Ben. Glad to have an ally. Let's go.
Heck yeah.
Thanks for having me.